Welcome to the Arts to Hearts podcast, a show for artists, creators, creative entrepreneurs to have heartfelt conversations about living a creative life and a career. As you go into this show, hear your favorite creators talk about money, mindset, business, creativity, and everything else that goes behind into making a life that we all adore as an artist. Hear the messy and the wonderful side of being a creative. I am your host, Charuka Arora, an artist, creator, and founder of Arts to Hearts project. Thank you for joining me here. Let's jump right in. Hello. Hi, Liz.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming, and a big welcome to the Arts to Hearts podcast.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to talk art and be authentic and dive in.
Absolutely. I think we was even saying before we started recording, and I always say this on the podcast, like why I love this podcast so much is like women, art, and entrepreneurship. I think these are three pillars of our conversations always, and I think it's it's just so exciting to always have someone to talk about this. It's like my therapy time.
Oh my gosh, those are my three favorite things to talk about. That's my sweet spot. You just like made my Venn diagram. So
Oh, love that. I'm going to draw this one and post it on our Instagram.
Right.
Amazing. Okay. Liz, welcome to the podcast. Before we dig into the episode, would you like to introduce yourself, who you are and what you do for people who are listening to us right now?
Sure. I'm Liz Lidgett. I'm a gallery owner in Des Moines, Iowa in the States. And I started the gallery 3 years ago. Before that, I had my own business as an art advisor for about 7 years. And, I got my master's at USC in Los Angeles, lived on the West Coast for a bit, and really wanted to come back to the Midwest, make an impact somehow here. And I really felt like, I say this a lot, but in Los Angeles, I felt like I had to be a multimillionaire to make a difference. But in Des Moines, in a smaller community, I could make a difference with a good idea, and people really rallied around you from your community. So it has been really special to build a business here in the Midwest. And then also just with all that goes on with online, we ship about 80% of the work that we sell. And we have artists from around the world and around the country. So, it really is because we love being in Iowa, and that's where our families and friends are and all of that. But we think of ourselves as a global business.
I love that. I absolutely. And this is a conversation I think is very close to me right now because I recently moved back. With COVID, I think a lot of people moved back to their hometowns, or if they were like, I moved from I was born and brought up in Agra, which is city of Taj Mahal. And then I moved to a bigger city here in India. And then with COVID, I went back home, and I think I felt like so empowered in the sense that I just think the comfort of being in a small town. I'm a proud small town girl always, and I think I really resonate with that idea that. And I was speaking to another artist that we had, Meg, on the podcast recently. Brilliant episode. And she was like, I, as an artist, I felt this pressure continuously while she was also living in LA. That, the rents to cover, the money it would take, and the pressure it would bring on her to make art and to make something and to make that impact. Did you, while growing up, here in the Midwest, did you had like an artsy, I want to know, I experienced art very differently as a small town girl here in India. I want to hear how is it in the US for you?
Well, that's interesting. I think I was really lucky to be raised in Des Moines because we have an incredible museum that's free to go to. Okay. And it hits well above its weight class. And just like for the size of the city that we are and the type of artwork and the architecture of the building and all of these, it's an IMP building. And I mean, it's just, it's a really, really special place. And I feel like my love of art was really fostered there. My grandmother, who I'm named after, my grandmother Elizabeth, saw that I was always carrying a sketch pad around when I was young. And so she gave me for Christmas art lessons at the museum. when I was
Oh,
5.
wow.
And from then on, that museum really shaped my experience because I got to hang out with like Francis Bacon's and, um, you
Yeah.
know, Mark Rothko. And like these were the things that I grew up getting to be around. And then when I went to college and started taking art history classes, I would see in my textbooks like image courtesy of the Des Moines Art Center. And so I realized just how entirely lucky I was that I got to be around this stuff that end up being in textbooks and people would just love to be around, and it was for free. So I think that that is part of the reason that I have such a love of introducing people to artwork and feeling
Yeah.
making people feel like art is for them too, art is for everyone. I think it was that like free admission, that come and go portion
Oh,
of the
yes.
museum that made it feel so accessible. They tried to
Yeah.
take down like as many barriers around the artwork as possible while still protecting it, right? And
That's very
yeah, it was
nice.
just it really has shaped how I experience the art world and think of the art world. Yeah, it was a special place to grow up for sure.
So what I come from, like what I can see from your conversation here is that um, community was a big, connect for you to experience art while you were growing up.
Hmm.
Did you experience the same when you were in LA? Because art world is very different in all parts of the world, actually.
Yeah, oh my goodness, yes. So, it's interesting. The degree that I got at USC is now called curatorial practice in the public sphere, which is a very wordy way of saying really anything outside of it's like public art. It's like outside of a
Yeah,
museum space, right?
yeah,
So, because I was looking at the art world through that lens, very specifically, and I, it was all about making sure that art could be where the people are, right? So it's like art at bus stops or art walking down your street or murals or all of that. And that program is part of the reason that when I came back to Des Moines, I was like, we're just going to put murals everywhere. There were a few here in Des
I
Moines,
love that.
but that became just a huge mission of mine because I wanted people to experience art where they were. We also have an incredible public art park here, just world class. That's right in
Wow.
the middle of our downtown. So this was something that I thought about a lot for sure. Now, I never really got into the gallery scene in Los Angeles because I didn't feel like it was for me. And
Yeah,
I didn't feel like, it just had that same way kind of as a New York, maybe a little more laid back than the New York gallery scene, but
yeah,
it was snooty, right? There were like if
right.
you had to ask
Yeah,
what the price was, you couldn't afford it. So I think again, all of these experiences come together to create a life, right? and
yes,
um
yes.
and so that is another thing that really was like I never felt like the art world was for me there. And that's why I want to create a longer table with what we're doing, not higher walls. So yeah, I mean, it's all of that stuff, but the LA art scene definitely comes into play with how my career has rolled out.
Yeah, I think sometimes being in a place where you feel like you don't want to be, that also makes you realize where you actually want to be. I
Yeah.
think that becomes a very pivotal decision on like, and also I think a, a belief system that we also have, that for an art business or an art career to thrive, you need to be in a certain place where there are certain kind of people and culture and like stuff like that. I mean, I think this goes
Hmm.
not only for artists but for galleries and art curators and all kinds of creative business. But I think with the age of internet, a lot of that has changed. Like you said today, you
Hmm.
ship and you sell all over the world. And I also see that you work with artists from all over the world. It's not like you're
Yes.
just working with someone who's just next to you.
Right. No. Yes, they're shipping. The artists are shipping from here, from wherever they are, all over the world to Iowa, and then we ship it out. Um, I think it's really interesting when you look at our roster of 50 artists, you will see people from all over the United States, small towns, big cities. You'll see people internationally. We have an artist that is from the United States and is moving internationally now. I just, there's
Yeah.
so much you can do to make it seem seamless for your clients that it really doesn't matter where you are. So I think it's really about living and being with the people that help your creativity flow,
Yeah.
that make your heart sing, all of that, because that all goes back into your art and to your work. And I just don't think that old adage of like, you've got to be in New York or you've got to be in LA,
Yes.
it's just not the case anymore. I mean, we've got an artist, Kit Porter, who is just phenomenally talented. Her artwork
Ah.
sells out just like that, like 5 minutes and everything's gone.
Oh, wow.
Um, she's she's also a wonderful person. So on top of all of that, but she's from Beaufort, South Carolina. Like
Yeah.
she's about an hour, I think, outside of Charleston. That's where she wants to live and work. It doesn't matter at all on her popularity, her
Yeah.
career, any of those things. So it's just a different world, especially post COVID. But
Yes.
it had been kind of going that way because people are finding people on Instagram now, right? They're
Yeah.
finding people
Yeah.
through galleries they trust, and it doesn't matter where you are.
I think that's totally true. And I think that's why I think this was a game changer for me, especially. Like, I always share this on the podcast that, like you said, like I didn't really resonate with a lot of physical or people or community immediate to me. And I felt like I really needed to go out and find people that I resonated with and the kind
Mhm.
of the kind of community or outward I wanted to work in and live in, because you want to do something with love. And if you don't enjoy
Yeah.
that, if you don't, and for me, I think art is about relationships, art is about people and stories and experiences. And if you don't have them, if you don't enjoy them, I really feel like there's no purpose. And
Yeah.
with the internet, I feel like it just gave us this power tool, especially with COVID. It was like, you anyway have to talk to people and meet them virtually or whatever. So you might
Yeah.
as well, find the kind of people you want to be with. And since
Hmm.
everything is remote and virtual, why not to experiment and explore a world that you want to live in?
Yes. Agreed. Yes, second that.
Tell me something. Did you have any fears or limiting beliefs when it came to, like we all have? I still am trying to deal with a lot of on my own. But something about like moving back, like it's just not like a creative decision, but it's also a practical, a business decision. And there are so many things that you like to consider, like make opening up a gallery in a smaller town and the challenges and being like did you have any? If yes, then what were they and how you dealt with
No,
them?
you know, I was mostly really excited, but there were my husband, I think he would say, if he were sitting next to me, would say he was a little less excited. He is from Des Moines as well. Um, but what I think it felt like, maybe if you were listening to like the demons in the back of your head, was that, does this mean that I gave up? That maybe if I pushed a little harder, I could
Oh,
have,
wow.
yeah,
That's huge.
made it somewhere else or whatever. Um, I think as I get older, though, I have completely released that because my definition of success has changed.
Yeah.
And I think when you're young, you think just money, right? Like you
Yes.
feel like you just want to make a bunch of money. And we were poor. I was a poor grad student, right? Like we
Yeah.
could like barely rub two nickels together.
Yeah.
Um, and so, living in a place like Los Angeles when you are experiencing that is not super fun. I mean, it's a great city. I still love it to this day. But anyway, all of that's to say is that my definition of success has changed. So the fact that I can control my day and my schedule somewhat, sometimes it gets lost pretty easily.
Yeah.
um,
That's
but, but the fact that I can come home to my kids and be with them for dinner and be with them in the morning, and then have a really solid, intense work day and get to come home and also just the fact that I'm happy, right? Like I get to
Yeah.
do something that I really love and I get to be creative and I get to try different things. And I feel like all of that together means that I'm successful. Hopefully I can like put a roof over our head too. um, so that still matters, but like the definition has changed. And so
Yes.
being here has completely released those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, I completely, I think I really resonate with the first one. And, you know, as much as as much as you want to follow your heart, sometimes we think like, am I like not pushing myself enough? Or
Yeah.
is it like, I really want to do this, but I'm doing this because my heart makes it happy? Or like, it's a tough
Mhm.
one. You just have to follow and then figure it out.
It's like you have to take some time to actually like sit with yourself and be like, is this what I want or is this what people are telling me that I want?
Yes. I think it's also like something like what we've seen as possible. Like today, if I see you run a successful business based out of
Right.
Midwest, and
Yeah.
you're doing anything and everything globally, and
Yeah.
it gives me an option. Okay, this is what is possible for her. It's also possible for me.
So true.
Like you making that path for yourself. Sometimes nobody else has done that, and you have to believe in your vision. And you're like, I will do this, and maybe you open a path for more people who would want to pursue this.
I hope so. I truly do, because I think the more that we can get people to understand that um, an art career can happen anywhere and art can happen
Yes.
in any community is a good thing, right?
Yes,
So,
I absolutely love
yeah.
that. Okay. Also, I think, when you said, when I, of course, saw your daughter, and like, this is something I keep
Oh,
asking
yeah.
myself also. Um, I think when you come to a point like that, a lot of things come into consideration, that it's just not the work that you're doing, because it's not like a one time decision. It's also like, especially for me, like, and I think it's also for creative people. Like, I love enjoying being around nature, having
Right.
access to space, like, working intimately in a community, and knowing people and your social structure that you have in a place that you come from, or a smaller town, versus in
Yeah.
a city that you build your life. I know what it feels to be like when nobody knows you and you build your life from scratch. Like, it's
Hmm.
not easy. Running a business
No.
is not easy. And like, sometimes I feel like you have to ask yourself, what is my dream and what is the best place for realistically to make it happen, without looking at what world wants out of us.
Right. It's hard to figure out, but I think if you're intentional about it, the answers do come.
Yeah.
And then also just trying a lot of things. I think that has been a really important part of my business and my career, is
Yeah.
that I've been really open to being like, that sounds fun, I'll try it. And sometimes it's not
Yeah.
actually fun. And then I
Yes,
know not to say yes to
absolutely.
something like that again. But
Yeah.
as you were saying earlier, that it's important to know like where you don't want to live too. It was important to me as I started my career and tried a couple of different things in the art world, that I was like, okay, I checked that box. I don't want to do this.
Let
I
us.
interned for a museum. I don't want to work for a museum. I worked for a corporate collection. The corporate world isn't for me. So
Yes.
I never look back at those experiences as a failure or any of that, because I now know that that wasn't for me and I had to go through some things. And I think I at least I had in my mind like, am I going to find what's right for me?
Oh,
Because I'm like,
yes.
I'm going through a lot of things. I know I want to be in the art world. I know this is where I belong, but like what version of that? Because there's so many things. I
Yes.
mean,
So many.
you could be an artist, you could work in a gallery, museum, an auction house. I mean, there's just on and on and on, a studio. So many things that you could do within that. And then I
And
was kind of like checking all of those
and I
boxes, but it wasn't for me yet.
and I think the idea that you don't, what I really like about you is you've really created your own definition of being a business owner, gallery owner, a design,
Yeah.
like, you see a certain kind, you have to be a certain way. Like, this is how you be an artist, this is how you be a galleryist, this is how you become, like, what such something looks like, why can't you be a gallery owner who has pink
Right.
walls in her gallery, and who
Hmm.
also, you know like, I really like the energy in the way you have this mission, like, art is for everyone. And
Yeah.
it's like how you're blending a lot of things that a person, like a person, like, we like you don't see art as like a white wall isolated experience that only a certain class of a society can come and experience. And
Hmm.
you like, I feel like we sometimes limit to ourselves that this is how, some if I want to become, this is how it looks. I can be this or that. You can be both or more than two, or whatever way. Like, you reinvent the wheel for you, become what you want to be. And I
Yes.
really like how
Preach.
you've done
Yes.
that.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I think, when I started the gallery, I first of all didn't feel like I needed to reinvent the wheel. So sometimes I feel like people are like trying to create something that's like
Yes.
100% completely new, that they're so
New. Yeah.
innovative. And the things that I think really change the world sometimes are going back to something that exists, but doing it really well, and
You.
doing
Yeah.
it
And also your
in a
own
really,
way. I think what you,
yeah.
sorry,
Yes, and doing it your own way, and like kind
yeah,
of putting your own stamp on
yeah,
something that already exists. So when
yeah.
I started the gallery, I think I had in mind what every business owner has. It's like, well, I think I can do this better, right?
Yes, yes,
and
yes, absolutely.
and after working with so many galleries as an art advisor, I thought, I'm seeing a lot of things that I don't love. And I want these artists to be treated really well. I want my clients to be treated really well. So, what if I started my own? And it really kind of was like that. And then Tina, who is my director of operations, had just started full time.
Yes.
And I was like, I know that you came on and I hired you to be a part of an art advisory business. But what if we started a gallery? And she was like, along for the ride. Let's do this.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm very thankful to Tina too, because she has done so much for this gallery. It's really hers too. And I I'm thrilled with what we've been able to do in just 3 years. I think some of the things, just to talk really quickly about the gallery, is that we represent at least 50% women artists. That was something that always really
Yes,
bothered
love
me. It
that.
was the representation numbers in galleries. So, and I had these little meetings with people that were in the art world before I started the gallery, and I'd say, like, give me your feedback. I'm going to start a gallery. Tell me what you want to see. Like, what do you think? And I got so much advice that was status quo. It was like, don't put limitations on yourself, like saying that you're always going to
Yeah.
represent 50% women artists. And I feel grateful if I could go back and hug past Liz because I really was like, no, this is not right. And I don't
Yeah.
think that I can change the entire art world, but I can do it right in my house.
Right.
And I
Yes.
feel that with my kids sometimes too, right? Like I can raise them right. And I can put good
Yes.
people out into the world that will create maybe or influence other people to be good. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, if I can focus on home, if I can focus on my business and do it right
Yeah.
and my artists, then it's going to affect change somehow. It's going to show other galleries that you can have this as a business practice and be successful. You can show that, like, being kind and working hard is like the major tenets of having a successful business. You don't have to be a jerk. We say this all the time at the gallery, that there's too many talented people in the world to work with jerks. So it's also like, I know when I'm talking about my artists, like, they are super talented, but also they're
Yeah.
good people, and we
I love
love
that.
supporting them. So,
Yeah.
it's just stuff like that's how we run this gallery. And it's been an enjoyable thing too, on top of being successful.
This is very powerful. I just feel like you've echoed every bit of what we like. There 100 plus episodes, and like you've literally summed up like 100 episodes in 1 minute, like even less
Thank
than
you.
that. Like
Thank you.
I can't even like the moment, like as you were saying, I was like, this is so powerful. Like this is so good. Like
Thank
I
you.
love how you said it. Like this should
Thank
be
you.
like a. I will like make sure that we make this a spotlight. Like this is we need to. I let's repeat this a couple of times. It's like a loop that needs to go
Yeah.
into our heads. Like because
Right.
it's not like we were having this conversation that that's here, like just a few episodes away. And one of our artists, Meg, she mentioned one of her experiences with her gallery and why she
Hmm.
left it and how unhappy she was. And
Yeah.
um, like for me, I think personally, it's it's a lot of times the collaboration that we chase as artists, as entrepreneurs, as creative. Like it's I think as basic as having respect for each other,
Yeah.
loving each other, being kind to each other, and it's
Yes.
it's not too much.
It's
It
not
should
too
have been
much.
there.
Yeah.
It should have been
That's the
there.
other thing too, is that I think we're all happier for it. But also we work hard, but I think we beyond that try to work smarter too. We're not
Yeah.
working, 20 hours a day. It's it doesn't take extra work to be kind to someone.
Yes. In
It's
fact, I
not
think it
extra.
reduces the work.
Yeah,
If
yes.
everybody's considerate, you're
Yeah.
not being like a baggage to each other, and you really uplift each other
Yes.
in time. And I think it's even a better collaboration than not being kind to each other, because that you make each other miserable.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree, because the times that we've had um someone, a client or an artist, and it's happened so rarely. This is not the norm, but we have like bad miscommunication, or someone's being rude or something along those lines. I'm like, that takes up so much more time. Because there's fires to put out and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. So anyway, yes, I don't it's not extra work to be kind. It's good business practice. And
Yeah.
I feel really, we don't always get it right. We also kind of
Yes.
go into that's like, we've got so many, we are not perfect. We have
Yes.
so many learning opportunities that we say, okay, we're not going to overly
Do
dwell
this.
on this. Let's assess, move on. I just,
Yeah.
I don't know I think maybe because we do a lot of different things, and I just don't have time to dwell. But that also makes
Yeah.
me a happier person, because I
But
just can say, like, okay, what are we going to learn from this? Let's move on. I think it also makes it's better for my staff too. Like, nobody
yeah.
wants a boss that dwells and holds grudges, right?
Yes. Yes.
um,
Absolutely.
right. So anyway, so it's all of that. I just we don't always get it right, but we are still learning, and
But that's how also
just
we build.
yeah, right. And that's how companies are built. So
Yeah.
I
Do you
feel very thankful for the stage that we're at right now.
I love that. Do you think it's also like, I really do think our experiences really shape who we are?
Yes.
I think like why I feel so passionate about like being a creator. Like I always struggled with this idea that I had to like, I know how to run a business, but I also know like I'm a creative at heart. And
Mhm.
it's not this or that, or like like when you experience certain things and you feel like, okay, this is pulling me back, and you have your own experiences, you become very passionate about creating something for that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to ask is it also because your own experience in LA or in just other part of the world, and seeing what you were missing, you really feel passionate about it, and that is what you're also building for yourself?
That's interesting to think about. I've never really kind of dived into that. What I would say is more so is that I've had such a wonderful experience in the art world overall.
Oh wow, I
And
love that.
and I want people to feel that too. I
Oh
understand
yes.
I understand that people are not always they don't always feel welcome here. And
Yeah,
so I kind of want to like go through
extend
all
that.
of the weeds and clear out the path for them.
Yeah,
Um
I think that's a great way to put it.
yeah, so it it's interesting. Growing up, I feel very lucky to have the parents that I do. They were entrepreneurs. They were in insurance, not creative at all, but they were entrepreneurs. um, and, growing up, they always looked at what I was interested in as cool. It was never like art really didn't have a super positive or negative connotation. It
Negative.
just was. It was just a part
Yeah.
of me. And they really accepted that. And I know that so many people are like, oh, how do you feel about being an artist? Or they've got negative connotations around being an artist.
Yeah.
Um, I never had that. And then when I was going to start my business, my parents just were like, that's great, honey. Like, go for it. It was
Oh,
not like
wow.
a overly amped up thing. It was not it was not
Yeah.
a negative thing. So it just like, okay, this feels logical for you. It's what you grew up
Yeah.
around. So,
Yeah.
um, and also I had older-ish parents, and they were entrepreneurs, and I saw like the freedom that they had too. And
Yeah.
that was something that
Yeah.
I ended up really craving. um, so, I was when I was in LA, I interned for an organization called United States Artists, and they give
Okay.
$50,000 unrestricted grants to artists in the United States every year. And
Wow.
it's an amazing organization. It started from the fact that there was a survey, probably, 20 years ago now, but there was a survey that said that people valued art in their communities, but they did not value artists in their communities. And
Oh
so
my
it was
God.
all about the fact that art comes from artists and we need to be supporting these artists. And that
Yes.
is an experience that really um, kind of carved out things in my career as well, because I know that, for whatever reason, and I think less so these days, 20 years ago, probably more so, but that artists, it was not like a viable income stream, or like it
Yes,
wasn't like a real
absolutely.
job, right?
Yeah.
I think people get it now in a new
Yeah.
way, especially just with like the creator economy and all of those things that
Yes.
people do now with Etsy and all of it. But I really think about that, is that I want these artists to know how much we value the work that they're putting out into the world. And, art is one of those things that like separates us from animals, right? um, the way that we like tell our stories and express ourselves and all of that. So it's incredibly valuable, and it's what makes this society rich. So I want to make sure
Yeah.
these artists feel like they can keep creating too.
I love that. But then let's also talk about how you, as Liz Lidgett Gallery, as yourself, what what is your definition or the way you want to work with artists and you currently work with? Like, how you curate them. And I also love, like I said, artists for everyone. um, I also love how you create content for your own gallery, and
Thank
I think
you.
that also feels like more approachable, like you said, like a typical gallery owner images of this snooty person who
Mhm.
has like this gallery, who has someone who's managing, and you know you're really shifting that definition and making it more approachable, sharing advices, you know talking about art, hanging art. I love your Phoebe, I love your and I
Thank
was like, this is really smart, like
Thank you.
really smart.
Thank you.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's I feel like the way that I am approaching the art world is not overly calculated. It is just the way that I experience it, and I've always felt like it in my business. I think like, if I like this artist, or if I like this thing, then somebody else will too. You know what I mean? I like kind of use myself
Yeah.
as my customer. And like, and
Yeah.
also now that I have as many clients as I have, as I see the questions that they have repeatedly. And so I want to make sure that I can just go out there and like give that content. And part of that ends up being, I think, that they then have a trust relationship with me that I take as a huge responsibility. They know
Yeah.
that because put my face out there on the internet and I talk about like hanging the artwork and being with it and curating it and all of that, is that they know that when they buy something through our website, it's something that I've seen, I've looked at, I've touched, I've put my stamp of approval on. But more than that, we're the ones packing your art. Like they know that
Yeah.
Liz, Ali, Tina, we're the ones like putting it together and making sure that it arrives safely to you. All of that is trust. And
Yes.
I do take that as a huge responsibility. Working with our artists, I've talked a lot about like how we just kind of go with kindness. But beyond that, it's like simple things that aren't always the case of like paying on time, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because when
As much
artists
as
are,
linear or small this is, how important and how not a regular practice it is. Like I am
it's
amazed to hear
unfortunate,
from people. Yes.
right?
And people like there's so many incidents I've heard on the podcast, like off the record, that I really can't like of course share without anybody's permission. But like it's
Mhm.
surprising and I'm amazed at so many times, like, is that even for real? Like you really don't
I know.
expect.
I
And
know.
you know what's even more
I've heard horror
surprising?
stories. Yeah.
And what's more
Yeah.
surprising, I've always heard great experiences with smaller businesses who really show up.
Right. And then, sometimes it's even when you're working with like mammoth businesses that it's like a 60-day payout and all of these things. And
Yes.
when artists or freelancers, even when artists are having to spend time tracking down where the money is, then they're not getting to put that time, energy, creativity towards their work. So it's simple things like that that we're trying to remove obstacles for them. We want to make sure that we have a consistent client base for them. And part of that is me going on Instagram or whatever and
Yeah.
talking about the work. And
Yeah.
I think that video shows art so well, so much better than a photo does, because it ends up, you can like get in there and you can like show the texture and you can get up close and far away and kind of view the artwork like you would if you were there in person with it. But beyond that, I can speak to what the artist was, not always, but what the artist was thinking, what their mediums were, what their technique was about, all of the things that go into the artwork that you don't automatically know just by looking at a photo. And that helps build their client base too, because when they see how
Yeah.
excited and passionate I am about it, passion rubs
It
off.
delivers in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it transfers. And so I think we have so many clients that say, I have never been this excited about artwork. And I love to hear that because I'm excited
Yeah.
about artwork,
Well,
and
yes.
that means that I'm doing my job of really expressing how I feel about it.
Yeah. And also, I think like realness of a business, and it's not just the energy, because when you're also packing an artwork, it's like it's you also build up that excitement. And when you see someone equally excited receiving that, and because it's also a lot of handmade, like the whole experience, it's not like a run of the mill and like everything is automated and it's happening on its own, and it's like
Right.
an Amazon parcel that gets delivered and you open. Like it's a lot
Right.
of personalized experience, and when you deliver that energy and when you receive the same energy back, I think like this whole purpose of like why you're doing what you're doing, it really comes together.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel really lucky to do this. I mean, I think that's what it comes down to, is I feel super lucky to do this.
I
And
love that.
as long as people keep wanting to work with us, both clients and artists, I'll keep going.
you We're all cheering for you, we're all enjoying all
Thank
your
you.
art tips, like a lot more France tips and you visiting different studios and shows, and like we're
That
all
was
rooting for you.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, tell
we
us
did
more
just
about
get
that.
yeah, so we just got back from France. About 6-7 months ago, we put the opportunity on our website to be able to buy a spot on this trip to France. We have an incredible artist named Jessie Rowley. You may know her from her work. She has a company called Eda V that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
named for her grandmothers. People always think her name's Etta. It's Jessie. So we represent basically the fine art portion of her business. And she sells on her own as well, but we are the only gallery that
Yeah.
represents her in the United States. She is American, that she met her husband, who's a French pastry chef, as one does.
Wow.
And she moved to Strasbourg, France, which is on the border of France and Germany, 10 years ago. And so we've been working with her and have become great friends with her, but had never been with her in person. And we thought, well, we need to come
Met.
to you, but also what if we brought a bunch of people? Because Jessie is such a bright light. Her personality is so wonderful. Her energy is so good. And people really respond to her. So anyway, long story short, the trip sold out in 24 hours. And that was like 6 months
Wow.
ago. And then we just got back, and we kind of branded it as a creative retreat. It was for people who are artists or not artists, but really wanted to like kind of bring some creativity back into their life. And we painted with Jessie a few times. We got sketchbooks and sketched while we were on a river cruise. That was really great.
Oh my God,
Um,
this is like a dream.
it was amazing. We went and did a West African dance class that Jessie does every
Oh
week, but we
goodness.
got a private lesson. And I think even what was really special about that is that when you move your body differently, you think differently. I've always
Yes.
found this correlation. And so it was so special to um, really learn. Claudine was the dance teacher name, and she really went into the West African culture and their traditions and why they dance this way and the stories that they were
Yeah.
telling, and it was phenomenal. So really we wanted to come up with, we just wanted to have all of these different experiences that made us think a little bit differently, that made us learn something new. And I think seeing a new place for me does that too. It's just like so inspirational. So all of that to say, I think we're going to do more. We've had so many people reach out
Yes.
saying that trip looked amazing. Can I come next time? And I'm like,
Come to India
guys,
now.
I just got back. I'm still jet lagged. But yeah,
I
we're
can't
talking
like,
about
I
it.
think
It was
this is
cool.
like it's a brilliant idea. And I think what's even more exciting is like you don't only experience a new space, but you're also experiencing a new space from a local, but that's a local that is a creative person. Because I truly
Yeah.
feel like how creatives experience and build their lives is very different from like a lot of regular people, 9 to 5. Like, you know,
Yeah, totally.
like just as you were saying, I'm like, how exciting this would be to have someone here and like take them to yoga and like, you
Yeah.
experience someone's culture through
Yes.
a creative, like, it's super exciting. I think this is like a brilliant idea.
You got to bring people to India. I think that's amazing.
When are you coming? I'm more
Yeah,
than happy
I
to
know
host you.
I should. I'm like, okay,
I
let
will,
me get over my jet lag and then I'm coming.
yeah,
Yeah, so
let's do that.
yeah, really, it's cool because we have been thinking about at the gallery, just as a creative person, I'm constantly like, okay, I love what I'm doing, but also like, what's next? What can we do? What can we build?
Yeah.
And one of those
This
things, if we're
unending
going,
urge.
it is, yeah, it's like being a creative person. But I think the thing that like comes back to me is the why of it all. And it's about getting people to experience and love art and fall in love with art. That's my why. And so, yes, we can do that through the gallery, and I hope that we are. But maybe we can do that through a trip and get them to experience something in a
Yes.
new way. Or, maybe we do that where we just started a podcast. So we're talking about masterpieces. So there's a lot of things that I think that we can do that go back to that why. But when you lose the why, that's when you're like
Yeah.
doing too many things and juggling too many balls. But it feels, even though we're doing a lot of things, it feels really centered because we keep
Yeah.
thinking like,
I
does
get
this
that.
come back to our mission, our
Yeah.
core?
I really like that because, to be honest, like a lot of times how I experience things and like we see a gallery or like a business is like uh, how you want to sell, like how people sell art. But like, you can do it just more than that. It's just not about selling art. It's like,
No.
it's the experience, the community, the relationships, the conversations, like all of it that you want to build. Like it's not just one, like selling an art or opening a gallery is one part. Like for me, even
Hmm.
with arts to hearts, like my practice, like being a creator is the top of the funnel for me. With that, I
Hmm.
want to create art, but I also want to have these conversations. I also want to build something that helps other artists. I also want to like travel and meet all these people. Like
Yeah.
it's this whole holistic, like we have one life, one creativity, like one creative
Yeah.
life that we can build, and then you give it all, and what works works, and what doesn't, you always have a chance to scrap it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I yes, I totally agree with you. There's so much I want to do, and the gallery is just kind of the beginning of that. But also
I see
I
that.
know that people walk in on a Saturday and they walk around and they don't buy anything. But that's our first experience together, right? And they're still getting to
Yes,
experience artwork. And then I have people come back 6 months later and say, I came into your gallery once, I didn't buy anything then. It's just, it's like it's the beginning of a relationship. And so, and I
yes,
know that there are people on Instagram, they tell me all the time that I love what you're doing. I'm saving. So it may not be an immediate
yes,
purchase, right? But like the work that you're doing matters and people are watching, and you may be more in their future plans than you realize. But you have to start.
yeah, yes. I love that. I am like, it's it's been 45 minutes and I loved every bit of our conversation. Like
Oh, I'm so
truly
glad.
loved it.
This was lovely to talk.
Same here.
I
Okay,
really appreciate it.
before, one last
Yeah.
question.
Oh,
One
yes.
last question. Tell me something about you making the idea of, something that you really do even on your website. You've been speaking about it, like art for all, art for everybody. I know we say this a lot. It's a word thrown around everywhere, but truly, how art on budget, like I experienced art very differently. I grew up in a small town, a town which never had a gallery, and honestly in India the gallery culture is very aristocratic and on the top of the funnel, where only the major cities have, and we don't have a lot of museums like culture. We do have amazing museums, but the culture of experiencing art is very different. I experience a lot of craft, and that is why my own work as an artist is hugely impacted by my own culture and
Sure.
textiles and um, you know. So I experienced art as a major, like craftly, like that was my
Mhm.
experience, um, and I always felt like art was never accessible. It is, and even today, like art is someone only like people who have a certain kind of background, money. Like it's this notion because that's how it's been in a system. How are you? I know you patronize this. You've been working around this. What are your tips on anyone? I know a lot of my, like I have started collecting art, whatever small, big, whatever time and your budget does, because I never knew that was possible, but now I do,
Mhm.
thankfully. A lot
Mhm.
of artists love to collect art. A lot of people who are art patrons, but they want to start small. How do people, without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling like, am I doing too much? Or the fear of, there's so many things that come in when you're trying to buy something. And what is your advice? I know you have a lot of great advices.
Well, something that we do at our gallery is that we get artists that create large works, really large and, sometimes cost prohibitive works, but we always ask them to come back and also do like a 10 by 10, a 12 by 12. Because I want people to have that like entry point, and I don't want there to be
Yes.
any barriers to entry for them. So I think one is that if you can find a gallery, whether it's us or another gallery that you trust, because there's a many that are great out there. Sometimes going back to a gallery and being like, what do you have? Does this artist make anything smaller? Even asking that sort of question falling in love with an artist and seeing if they do smaller works is a really great way, because then you can start to patron them as your budget grows. You can start to buy larger works by them. But I think it's great if you're working with an artist or a gallery that also puts an emphasis on small works. And then, you can
Yeah.
create this incredible gallery wall over time, whether it's over your sofa or what. But, smaller works, bring together works that you build and put together over time that like create that large wall and that large look that you may be looking for, right? Um,
Yes.
I also think it's worth asking and talking to galleries if they do payment plans. Sometimes it's just
Yes.
about
Good one.
asking the question, because we work with a company called Art Money, and it
Yes.
puts an artwork over $1,000 into 10 payments, interest free. And so it's just stuff like that we're trying to, again, take down those barriers to entry, making sure that people can find artwork at a variety of price points. We've got artwork in the gallery that starts at $150, but then goes up to $15,000. So it's all there. It's just about finding a piece that you truly love and going to the right spot. And then when you're getting collected, it's about, I think, looking at as much art as possible. Um,
Yeah.
Going to galleries, you don't have to buy anything. Galleries don't expect every single person that walks in to buy something. So feel
Yeah.
comfortable, hold your head up high, and just go to look at the artwork. Go to museums, go to look at the artwork. Try and then beyond looking at the artwork, it's all about like being able to articulate what you like about a piece. So you may not have that vocabulary in the beginning. No one's expecting you to be a curator or
Yes.
whatever it is, but it could be as simple as, I love that shade of blue because it reminds me of the ocean. Whatever it is, like it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be,
You don't have to like,
so erudite, right?
yes,
Um,
yes.
it
This
can be
constant
whatever.
pressure.
Yes, you don't have to feel that pressure. It can be truly something that um, it's whatever you connect with. That's what's important
Yeah.
here. And
Yeah.
and if you truly love a piece, then that's when you know to buy, because it sounds kind of like going back to what we were saying earlier in the episode, is like you don't know if you're going on this career path or being in a city or whatever it is because people are telling you that's what you should want. You
Yeah.
got to get everybody else's voices out of your head and look for the piece of artwork that you truly connect with on whatever level, for whatever reason. If that work makes you smile, if it brings back a really wonderful memory, if it feels like something you want to spend time with, that's the other thing too. I always think, is this a piece I want to spend some time with? Is it something that I
Yeah.
like want to sit on the couch next to on and watch the TV or whatever? It's like and then is it a piece that feels like it's going to reveal itself to you over time, that you're going to notice new things? All of those questions are questions that I ask myself when I'm buying artwork.
I love
And
that.
I'm not asking myself, do I think this is going to appreciate in value? Is this the
Yeah.
right type of artist to buy? Is this is this an artist or a piece that my friends are going to think I'm cooler for? None of that matters to me.
Hearts
It
to
is so
hearts.
Yes. It's just so personal. So if you ask
Yes.
yourself those questions and look at a lot of artwork and figure out what you're responding to, what you are responding to,
Yeah.
then you'll be able to find a piece that you love.
I love that. I love that. I think this is something a lot of us have experienced, especially during COVID. I remember I gave my partner a painting, um, just resonating with his story because he loves like being on like a train station. And I had this painting that he spends, and he has no connect with the art world, creative world. And this was the
Yeah,
first painting he ever owned, and I gifted him.
that's
And
lovely.
today, when I see him, it's right on top of his, like, in front of his computer. And he's like, I'm like, and because of it was COVID, it wasn't well framed. And I was like, let me just switch the frame. And he's like,
Yeah,
no, I see it every day. I can't even tell you how much, like, it's like a companion to me every day on my
yeah,
desk. And I spend that, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's true.
yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah, that's the connection you're hoping for, right? When you create a
Yeah.
piece, that somebody connects with it that deeply. Um, I have this kind of like woo-woo thought that every artwork is created for someone, and
Oh,
it's my
wow.
job to get that piece in front of the right person. There are times where an artwork hasn't sold for maybe 6 months, 7 months, whatever it is. And I think it's not that this piece is not worthy or bad or any of those things. It's just that the right person hasn't seen it. And then someone walks through the door and they find the piece that no one else purchased, right? But it was so right. They're so excited. They're so right. And I'm
Oh,
like, this is
wow.
what we were waiting for. It just feels like this like really perfect moment every time somebody finds a piece of artwork that they love. And it's not their
I
designer
love how
coming
you put
in.
it.
Thank you.
I love how
It's
you
not their
put it. I
designer
love
coming
this.
in. It's like them connecting with it. And that artwork was
Yeah.
meant for them. And the artist
Yeah.
probably didn't have them in mind or didn't realize they were making it for them, but it was meant to be with them. So that's my job, is finding the people that want the exact right piece of artwork.
This is, love what you just said. Oh my God.
Thank you.
I have had a fantastic, I think this was
Me
one of my
too.
favorite conversations. I
Thank
think
you.
it was just amazing, amazing.
It was really lovely. Thank you for asking such nice questions too. I appreciate it.
No, I really appreciate you answering them so honestly. But I have one last thing before I let you go,
Oh, yes.
which is the rapid fire.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, maybe.
So no right,
Okay.
no right, no wrong. Just give me what
Okay.
comes to you. Okay.
Okay.
One thing you want to convey through your work in the arts.
Oh, man. One thing that I want to do while I'm working in the arts is make people feel welcome. I think that's it. Like, I just want to make them feel welcome.
You're doing a great job with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's that one word that describes you the best?
Oh, passionate.
Definitely, I can see that.
Mhm.
If you could have a studio or a gallery anywhere in the world, where would it be?
This is it going to be lame if I say Des Moines?
No, absolutely
I
not.
do
I
love
guessed.
it.
I felt
Yeah.
that coming.
I know. I love traveling so much, but gosh, coming home is good.
Oh wow, I love that. Your biggest source of inspiration?
I oof. Probably just going back to my family. I mean, I think my work why is getting people to love artwork, but my why is my family. And so I think, I feel like such love and happiness with them every day. And if I can transfer that into my work world too, then it's great. I feel good.
That's amazing. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Who's your favorite woman artist? Any
Oh
point
my
of
gosh,
time?
I have so many. Oh, I've got
Right.
so many. Oh gosh, that is so hard. I really do love Yayoi Kusama. I
Oh
think
yes.
I mean, she's just like the end all be all for me. I love her work. I love her ideas as an artist. I love her experiences that she creates. It's like she's got artwork, but then she's got these experiences that you walk into.
Yes.
It's really
Yes.
hard for me to
Yes.
say. I mean, we represent so many incredible women artists, and I know them personally. Like, that's really hard. So I'm just going to go with one that I don't know.
Smart one.
Yeah.
Yet wise one.
Yeah.
Who's your go-to person when you're in trouble or in need of advice?
Oh, my parents. They're the best.
Oh,
And they live 3 blocks from me. So,
that's even exciting.
yeah, it's great. It's great. Like there are different mom questions and dad questions, but depending on whatever the question is, it's one of them.
I also love this part of being in a small town, like how everything is
Yeah.
approachable, how you have people accessible, and like it's warm and beautiful. I think it's just
It's really great.
amazing. Okay, this is a little more than a rapid question.
Okay.
I'm sure there must have been many, and I can see that for sure. Can you say or like share one moment that you feel like a special moment of your time in your work, in your life as a creative, that you really savor and keep close to, like you feel very grateful for doing the work that you do? Something that really made you feel special. Anything, it could be anything.
Well, I think one moment was when we opened the gallery. It was 2019, so we're a little pre-COVID, and
Yes.
it was the gallery was so full of people. Hundreds of people were there for the opening, and they were spilling out onto the sidewalk because it was a beautiful day in May. And it just felt like all of the moments in my career and the uncertainty that I had felt at times and all of these things, it was like, it was all for a reason. It was all for this place to open, for this place to exist. And the support from the community was incredible too. But it just felt like a real culmination, a real turning point.
Everything starts to make sense.
Yeah, exactly. It was really special.
I love that.
Also, I was wearing a great outfit, so I felt good about that too.
That's a good thing. Yes, for sure. Like these are, I think, little joys of being a creative, for sure.
Totally.
Like oh, this color, I remember. I enjoy this moment because I like how
100%.
I really enjoy
you remember
this
those
part.
things. Yeah.
Yes, and like a lot of people say, like I'm a huge, like I don't say I'm a collector. I'm a hoarder. Like I love collecting small, like
yeah.
I'll find something, and I know I will never use it in my life.
Yep.
But I need to have it.
It has purpose if it's bringing you joy, though. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And like it makes me feel. It makes me happy. It makes my eyes happy.
Yeah.
It makes my aesthetics happy, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, if you were to meet younger Liz today, what advice would you give her?
Honestly, I would probably give her a hug and walk away because I want her to make the mistakes, I want her to experience life. I ended up in the right spot, and I had guidance, of course, from wonderful friends and mentors and family and all of that, but I would do it all over again. So, I think every past Liz could use a hug and just being like, it's okay, sweetie.
You got
and then what? but other than that, like, I would do it all over.
Oh, wow. But even if it feels like you're not saying anything, I feel like that hug says a lot.
Yeah, it does. I think it would. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, even in our hard times, we always don't look for advice or what's right and like sometimes all you need is a warm hug from someone and reminding you you'll figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You can trust yourself. You can trust your gut. I think that's an important reminder, and then again, I met somebody recently. She was talking about the businesses that she had. And I said, oh, and then you did also XYZ. I remember you doing that. And she said, oh, I don't count the failures. And I was like, oh, girl, yes, it's all a part of it. It's all a part of it. And, I know there's all those like cliches. It's like, if you learn from it, it wasn't a failure and all of that. But, sometimes things are just failures and that's okay. That's part of it too. So I don't know, count the failures.
Yes. And also I think like you said earlier, like unless you don't know what you don't want or what you didn't get right, you probably will never know what you really want and what you can actually get right. So that's right. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly right. It's all okay is the point of it.
Okay. Shout out to an artist, especially women artists, who you are currently enjoying on social media. I love this question.
Oh, goodness. That's interesting. Allison James is a really wonderful artist out of Georgia. But beyond that, she talks so much about like her inspiration and working through a piece, or when there's like a sticky point and like how she worked through it. And she talks about like her process. And I think that's a fascinating thing to hear about. And I think also wildly helpful for other artists.
Okay. I am going to check her out, and I'm also going to link her in the show notes.
Oh, good. Yeah, great. She's awesome.
Last question. As a woman, creative entrepreneur, as a woman entrepreneur, creative entrepreneur, what's that one piece of advice that you would like to give to people who would, you're listening to this episode or just following your lead?
Being you is a strength. So don't try to be something else or, look at what other artists or other galleries or other entrepreneurs are doing. Like, the things that make you are your strength. So lean into them and share them with the world, and you'll find your people.
Yes, I love that.
That's the thing. The times that I have swayed from myself or strayed, those are the times that didn't feel right, that weren't successful. The times that I'm true to me, what excites me, what I'm passionate about, the people find you. They come and they connect with you on a very real level that's incredibly important. So, you are the strength. Your personality, your characteristics are the strength. Lean into that.
I love that. How natural it is to be ourselves, yet how difficult it is to be ourselves.
I know, isn't it weird?
I love the situation. Yes.
Being a human is weird.
Messed up.
Yeah.
But that's the journey. I think that's the journey that we all like. That's the creative process. Like you're creating
Don't feel alone, because we're all going through it, just in our own ways.
We're all figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that.
Well, anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you. I could talk to you for hours. Honestly, I had such a blast.
Thank you. Me too.
Thank you. Okay. For anyone who's listening to this episode, where can they find you? Share, shop, any upcoming projects that you have that you would like to share. Anything that you want, feel free.
Sure. Thank you. So you can find us on our website, lizlidgett.com. And then I have a personal Instagram where I talk about art and creativity at Liz Lidgett. And then the gallery is at Liz Lidgett Gallery. They also do awesome different content. So if you're all about the arts, and then also we have a podcast that just started recently called 10-Minute Masterpieces, where we spend 10 minutes on the most famous works of art in the world and kind of what makes them famous and what's interesting about them. You may be able to close your eyes and picture Starry Night, but what do you really know about it? So that's what we're doing right now. So come visit us at the gallery or online or on Instagram, and we'll talk about some art.
Yes, and I can vouch for that it's going to be really, really fun and you learn a lot, but you'll also have a lot of fun along that.
Yeah.
So I will link all these links Liz has mentioned, images and a few of her videos, I think that I really like, and you'll find them all in the show notes, and you can find and support. I think that's more than anything that we would like to say. But I would also like to say a big thank you to you, Liz. Thank you so much for your honesty and for your time. I really appreciate this.
Oh gosh, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can find all the details and links mentioned in the show notes of this episode available on www.arts2heartsproject.com. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to tag us in your stories and leave us a review here on iTunes or any of your favorite platforms. It really helps us to keep the show going. Thank you so much. I'm sending you lots of love, and I can't wait to be back here soon again. Bye.